Hi, good evening. Welcome to our session tonight. This is the third part of a three-part series of Facebook Live chats. My name is Shirley. I'm the founder of Moms at Work, but also a Compass Council member. And before I begin, I wanted to run through a few ground rules. On the chat, feel free to ask questions, but please remember to stay on topic. Be respectful, and we will try to take your questions, but because time is limited, we may not be able to answer all your questions as well. Before I begin tonight, I wanted to give you a bit of information about Compass, as well as what this whole series is about. Compass stands for Community and Parents in Support of Schools, and was established in 1998 to advise MOE on ways in which school-home community collaboration could be strengthened and promoted. Compass has embarked on efforts to support parents ranging from youth mental well-being to cyber wellness. On broadening the definitions of success, we're holding tonight's Facebook Live dialogue for parents to create awareness of more varied pathways and to broaden the definitions of success in society. Parents like yourself will have opportunities to hear from different individuals on what success means to them. I also wanted to briefly touch on the A World Beyond School series. This session is part of the MOE's year-long engagement series titled A World Beyond School. Through these sessions, parents, educators, and students can gain insights on the diverse work realities and be enriched by learning experiences beyond schools. Now, before I start, I want to introduce the panel, and I'm very excited tonight to have a very interesting panel with me tonight. So maybe I'll get the panelists to introduce themselves. Firstly, Moon Lei, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Moon Lei Lee, founder of Unlocking ADHD. I'm a mom of two. I have two girls aged 19 and 20.
Thank you. Mr. David?
Good evening, fellow parents and viewers. My name is David Quack. My wife and I, we have two kids. Our girl, Emma, is 20 this year, and our son, Isaac Quack, he's turning 17, and he's a national table tennis player.
Right. Thank you. And MOS Gan?
Hi everyone, I'm Siow Huang from Ministry of Education and Ministry of Manpower. I have three daughters, 20 years old, 16 and 11.
Thank you. And I just have to add, I also have two children, which is part of the big reason why I'm here as a parent to hear their stories as well.
Yeah, I think for my wife, Chusun, and I, success is when we see our kids grow up happy and healthy. What matters most to us is when they find self-worthiness in what they enjoy doing. So long as they, lead a fulfilling and purposeful life and leave no regrets, we will be happy for them.
Yes. Interesting, very interesting. I live a purposeful life. I'll come back to you about that in a while. MOS Gan, what about yourself? What has been your definition of success when it comes to your children?
Well, for me, I feel that it's important that our children pursue their passion. Firstly, be able to discover what they're really interested in, what they want to do with their lives, and for parents to be able to support them. And I also strongly believe that each child is unique and has his or her own peak. Well, there's a Chinese saying that goes, 一山还有一山高. That means there's always someone or something higher. And we cannot just keep comparing ourselves with someone who is higher or better. Actually, I feel the most important thing is for us to understand our children, their abilities, their passion, and help them achieve their potential. The potential, maybe for my first child might be here, second child might be here, third child might be here, and what's important is, in terms of measuring success, whether they are able to reach the peak, their own peak. Yes.
And actually, even, when you have that graph, you can almost guess it's about for different areas too. There's academic, there's different skill sets as well, right?
Indeed.
And what about Moon Lei for you? And I'm sure yours is a very interesting story. How maybe you can share the background to it and, what's been the definition of success for your daughters?
I was thinking about your question, what exactly does success mean? And I think even as I went through my journey as a parent of a child with ADHD, and later on discovered that I have ADHD myself, I think the way I thought about success changed. Initially, it's like success was the person who was excelling in grades, excelling in sports, basically all-rounder, the perfect achiever. But, in this journey, it's not so much one's performance, but who one is. And I was discussing with my husband recently, and he actually reminded me that Warren Buffett, who was the most successful investor in the world, he actually defined success, when some students asked him, as being someone that people love. Okay, so when I was thinking about it, I thought actually to me success is being lovable and being loving. Because it may not sound very, like chim, right? Very deep. But when you think about it, if you're lovable, it's because you have certain qualities, okay, that make you lovable. For example, it's maybe because you care for people, you're able to communicate and engage at different levels, and that you're useful, you're helpful.
Yeah.
And loving is because, it's really like a both ways kind of street. And so I think for me, I would have been successful as a parent if I know that my kids are not just well liked, but well loved.
Yeah.
And are able to love people in return.
Yeah, definitely there are a lot of challenges, but I think for us is, the part on managing setbacks is quite daunting to us, I still remember when Isaac lose a lot of important matches. Actually, we as parents, we felt more down than him. Yeah, so over the years, we've learned to manage setbacks better, and we kind of like shift our paradigm to focus more on the process rather than the outcome. Yeah.
And you, when you say you shift your paradigm, did you also feel that you had to help him to shift as well? Because I'm sure the first few setbacks he might have felt a little bit like, oh my gosh, this happened to me. Did you have to help him as well?
Actually, he was the one who helped us. Because I think in the competitive sports, there are ups and downs. Sometimes you lose, sometimes you win. But he shared a lot of his own side of the story with us. That in every matches that he played, he focused more on how to execute his skills and how to win every point, rather than thinking about the end result. So likewise, we do the same, right? I mean, we choose to think, because in the beginning, being a new parents, we want our kids to excel, we want our kids to win. But we realize that in the real world, that's not going to happen, right? Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. So we then, had a lot of deliberations, and then we finally came to the conclusion that let's just focus on the process, not on the outcome.
Yeah, that's very good advice. And actually, it's not just for sports. In general, for many things in life, part of the focus is on the journey, what you're learning along the way, as opposed to just the achievement of the goal. Right? And sometimes I always say, you've achieved the goal, and then what now? Where are we going to go with this as well? That's a very good point. I'm like taking all these notes in my head and going back to implement it. What about Moonlight for yourself?
I think for me is, one of the books I read reminded me that it's to parent the child that you have, not the one that you wish you had. And there was a poem that was shared called Welcome to Holland. Okay, and it's really about a person that was planning the lifelong dream vacation to Italy, thinking about Venice and everything. And then when they landed, the pilot said, "Welcome to Holland." And then there's windmills and tulips, but the whole time they're busy complaining that why the expectations for pizza and all those historical things were not there, that they couldn't enjoy the beauty of Holland. So I think I'm basically in my parenting journey, that one of the challenge is, and I think for many parents that maybe have an unexpected situation, right, is really to accept and love what you have, because there's so much beauty and strength in them, and they really bloom. Because I think most kids, all kids, want parents to accept them for who they are and to love them unconditionally.
Yes.
And so when we have certain expectations that they somehow don't quite fit, the child feels it. Even though it's maybe we don't say so, but they know. So I think it's very important for us to have that self-awareness, then acceptance, and then that love, because that gives them security. So I think one of the things I learned in my journey as well is that, whenever I worry too much about the future, I actually transfer some of these worries and anxieties to them. So it's learning to be very self-aware that this is also contagious. So this is really, I'm learning as I share with you, and it's something very recent that I learned too. So we never stop learning, for sure. But these are some of the challenges that I have dealt with that I'm learning. I'm sharing.
In your case, obviously, there's a lot of self-awareness, stepping back to say, are these my expectations or are these her expectations? Because at the end of the day, she's the one who's trying to achieve the success in her life that she wants as well.
It's her race, not my race, right?
Oh, that's a very good one.
I'm
Yeah,
there
yeah,
to
yeah.
cheerlead, you know.
Yeah, Moonlight is making me feel like I should just write a book of quotes after this. What about MOS Gan? What has been your challenges in obviously supporting your children's definition of success?
I think managing expectations is a very real challenge. Managing my expectations of my child, managing my child's expectation of herself, and what she thinks I expect of her.
Wow.
Yeah. My 20-year-old, she has had a fair share of ups and downs, in her studies. Sometimes she does better than I expect, or than she expects. Sometimes she does worse than we all expect. And what I always hope is that she will bounce back, and that she will learn from mistakes and try to do better. And I always ask her, "Did you try your best? If you've tried your best, that's good enough for me."
Yeah.
And I always try to remind myself that, and also give her that assurance, because she sometimes gets stressed over, her results, and she might feel that she's, let me down or let down grandma, who actually pays a lot of attention to her studies and helps her a lot. Yeah. I feel that sometimes our children feel stressed because of expectations.
Yes.
Sometimes that they put on themselves, and as parents, I feel we have to show them that we love them no matter what.
Yes.
And what's more important is that they've tried their best.
Yes.
Like what David said, process matters.
Yeah.
I think that focus on process, that focus on learning, that focus on that, you go through this, but maybe you don't succeed, and then you try again, right? I think that's really what it's all about. But it's an interesting one because, again, all three of you kind of brought up this point that sometimes because you recognize that it's a little bit of your own expectations, and then recognizing too that I don't want to transfer that to my child. So even in your case, sometimes the fears that you have, you don't want to transfer to your child. And it takes a lot of that self-awareness, which sometimes is quite hard for us because it's really I always joke that parenting is like you put a mirror in front of you and all your good and bad points surface. And so it becomes up to you whether you want to look at the bad points and say, I have a chance to get this right and not make a mistake, or just ignore it as well.
I think in my daughter's case, sometimes knowing what kind of support that she needs, makes us do the different kind of difficult decisions. Like when she was doing her A levels in another country, she was really struggling, and during the COVID period, and there really wasn't enough family support. So 6 months before her exam, I actually pulled her out of school and brought her back to Singapore. I really wrestled with that a lot because you don't know whether you're doing the right thing. I think most people say, it's only 6 more months, right? Let her stay there. So those are the things that I struggled with, but I think ultimately a parent would know the child and what works best for the child. So those are some of the challenges, but I think it worked out very well in the end.
So you really thought about it and said, okay, this is the kind of support I think she needs,
Yes.
and I offered it. Did she fight you about it?
I think she told me later on that she was a little bit resentful because, when
Teenagers.
when teens are overseas, they're independent and it's back to mama again, right? But I really am grateful and thankful because we have a good relationship and we're able to talk about all the different reasons why we had to make this difficult decision. So even though, emotionally, she didn't want to leave, but intellectually she understood why. And so because of that, in a very stressful period in her life, she was able to actually work with me. And that really made the difference in how she did in the end in the A levels when she was in Singapore. Without that cooperation and that willingness to work as a team, I don't think it would have had the outcome that we did.
But it's really based on a very strong sense of bond and
Yes.
communication as well.
Yeah.
What about for yourself when you discovered at some point, and I know Isaac discovered his passion quite early, but at some point, I'm sure maybe your wife and yourself would have said, hey, he loves sports, he's good at it. And then, it clicked that maybe we are going to have to focus on something different. Did that happen?
I think for us, we didn't really ponder over much of whether academic or sports outweigh one another. We choose to support him in pursuit of his interests. Likewise for our daughter. I mean, we're at various crossroads making certain decisions. I mean, when he was young, he didn't win a lot of matches, and at the point in time we were concerned, are we taking the right path? And we're worried that how far can he progress. But again, there were a lot of struggles, and we had a lot of discussion between me and my wife, and again we fall back to what we really believe in, is that so long as he keeps his passion, he enjoys what he's doing, I think we felt that you eventually excel in the sports, or in fact in all parts of his life.
And I think it's back to what you said earlier on, looking back and not having regrets for himself, because he chose this path and you help him. And even if, it's not going to happen, but if let's say he did not progress even in that area, he can look back and say that I tried, right? My mommy and daddy supported me, I tried, and I've done the best that I can, and it doesn't work for me. I think this is the message that I'm hearing. Am I right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in the case of our daughter, same thing happens, right? We were just talking about, during our time where we tell our parents we want to take a gap year, our parents were like, no way.
Game over.
But my daughter just finished her poly, and she feels that she needs a year off to really ponder over and think about what she really wants to do. It may not be the same field as what she has done in the polytechnic. So, we just have to give her all the sports that we can, and then weigh on the pros and cons, research on the issue, come up with suggestions or ideas, discuss with her, and then agree on a path forward. And that's what we always do as parents, and communication is very key.
Correct. And I really find that both parents here, you make a decision, but you also involve them in your decision, and so that they understand what are some of the consequences, but also what are some of the benefits, what are some of the challenges that's going to be ahead for them, right?
Yeah. So for us, we felt that we are more like a facilitator to their struggles. We cannot, more often than not, we don't have an answer to their struggles, but we make sure that we are always there to lend a listening ear, and then evaluate options, and then discuss the path forward.
Shirley, I want to make a confession.
Sure.
Actually, quite unlike David and Moonlake, for very enlightened parents. When my eldest daughter, she first got admitted into JC, she had to make choices on the subjects. And when she came home, she told me, she wanted to do theatre and drama. I said, what? Theatre and drama? Is there such a subject? In my time, there wasn't.
Yes.
I thought it was a CCA. She said, no, it's a core subject. So I said, okay, what about the other subjects? And she showed me the rest, and I was like, okay, but with this subject combination, will you be able to do well? Hint, hint. These are not easy subjects, and she's not that strong academically.
Yes.
Not consistently strong. But she told me that she really liked that subject, and she felt that she should have a go at it. She was quite brave, even though she knew her limitations and that she would have to work very hard to do well, in all the subjects. I went along with it, because I thought actually it is a good course, right? Theatre and drama, it's about confidence building, speech training,
and really
expression.
Comfortable with yourself.
Yes, skills that would be very useful in life. And I look at myself, hey, actually, if I had done a course like that, maybe I'll be better, So I said, okay, I discussed with my husband, we said, okay, just let her, carry on with it, her own choice, right? And I told her that you will have to accept the consequences, okay? She understood that. And guess what, eventually that turned out to be her best subject, in A-levels.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's her passion.
And not just that, I watched a few of her performances. I was so impressed. I didn't know, wow, I had such a talented daughter. Could sing and dance and act. Where did she get, this talent from? I was very grateful to the school, and also thankful that she followed her heart.
Did it also make you feel as a parent like you're kind of glad like she made this decision, and then you also step back and say, this is also a learning for you that, as a parent, because I go through it a lot of time, they do sometimes know what they want for themselves. A lot of parents, so I've had parents come and tell me, no, my kids don't know better. That's why I tell them, right? Right. But the common thing here from all three of you has been you took a risk and you said, whatever decision that you make or that I'm going to make with you is what you're choosing, and I'm going along with you, right? And I'm sure when we first started being parents, it didn't occur to us. We always thought we knew better. And there was a switch, I'm sure, at some point as they grew up, that you realize they've grown up, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is, that we are allowing our children to become who they want based on their terms.
I think we also need to say that we need to acknowledge that we can learn from them.
Yeah.
You know, and I always credit my daughter with teaching me how to organize my day with alarms to make sure I'm on time for meetings. Because every single appointment, she has an alarm.
Oh, wow.
And I started doing that.
I mean, first of all, I must say that all children are different, right?
Yes.
Some children maybe are very resilient.
Yeah.
Some maybe not so much. And for me, I feel that the most important thing that I want my children to know is that I'm always there for them, no matter what. And I need them to know that, so that they feel confident, they feel reassured, and that they will want to carry on. And even if they have setbacks. Yeah. And I mean, for my children, I mentioned my first child, she's had her ups and downs. There were a few times when I was so worried about whether she would recover. Losing confidence in herself, getting very, withdrawn, not enjoying learning when things don't go her way. And when she doesn't meet her own expectations. It's not her fault. She tried her best, but things don't turn out the way she wants or she thinks I want. So I mean, I feel going forward, same. I want to be a parent who she can always lean back on.
Like they feel someone has their back. I think that's very important, right?
Yes. But not that she can, just be lazy and always run to mom, when she gets into trouble. Not that way. Not a security blanket, but rather that if she just tries her best, if she puts in effort, even if she fails, it's okay if she gets back on her feet. The family's always there for her.
That's a very good message. What about the other two parents?
I think the parents got two roles. One is actually as a coach to draw out the excellence in them. But the other role actually is to be a parent, to love them unconditionally. So it's like, both sides, so that they're secure enough to try and venture, and take risks. And I think we can't remove obstacles for our children, but we can prepare them. So we equip them. And that's what my husband and I try and do. For my girls, we don't just transmit values, but we try to include them into our lives. So if we're meeting with business friends, for example, we actually bring them along with us so that they can learn how to have conversations with maybe adults, different walks of life. And I think it also expands their horizons. So that's one of the ways we try and prepare them for life.
Yes, sir?
I think for Chu Sun and I think we spend a lot of time and effort in providing emotional support. And as I mentioned earlier, many a times we as parents, we really don't have the answer to their struggles. But then, we make sure we're there, lend a listening ear. And we do a lot of things together. We research on the issues, on the matters, and then we come up with options, and and discuss with them. And as I said, earlier, we agree on the path forward. So we play a role of more of a facilitator to help them overcome the obstacles. I mean, it's like when Isaac told us that he wanted to turn pro when he was 9 or 10 years old, we were like, are you sure you're only 9 years old? And he told us, you better do your own research because the Chinese turned pro when they were 7.
So he knows.
So it's like, I think you mentioned that we are learning from each other, right? Not us just imparting our values and knowledge. Sometimes, we have to listen to them.
Yes. I don't have a direct answer to your question, but I would say that actually our education system has changed quite a bit
Yes.
since our time in school. Today you find that there are multiple paths, multiple pathways. Right? We have direct school admission that recognizes children's talent and potential in sports, in leadership, in arts, non-academic areas, right? And for them to be able to get into the school of their choice where they can then develop their talent further, right? In universities, for polytechnics, we have aptitude-based admission.
Yes.
Aptitude-based admission. That means it's not just about grades, it's beyond grades. Of course, you need to have certain baseline, minimum baseline for the grades, but grades alone won't be able to, guarantee a place in many courses nowadays in our institutes of higher learning. There's a lot more focus now on the person's motivation, aptitude, and assessed potential for the course of the program. Yes, and I feel these are good ways for us to de-emphasize grades.
Yes.
Yeah, and of course within MOE we have also made other changes, like we have reviewed the PSLE scoring system. And so that we don't just differentiate by 1 mark, 2 mark. When it comes to admission to secondary schools, we also will be doing away with streaming. Right, no more express. Normal CAT, normal technical stream from next year onwards. It will be full subject-based banding, where all students in secondary schools from Sec 1 onwards will be able to pursue subjects based on their own ability levels. Yes.
What about Moonlight?
So going back to the sports analogy, right? And I'm also a big proponent about the importance of sports in not just a student but the whole family's life. So our whole family ran together. So a lot of running analogies, okay? And one of which is run your own race, right? Not other people's race. So, for us, we have the concept of personal best. So even if it's 1 second faster, it's a personal best, you celebrate it. And actually many 1 second fasters add up. So for my kids, when they were growing up in secondary school, they actually failed a lot of subjects. So there's a lot of like F9s, E8s, D7s, right? But we didn't worry about too much in the sense that we said, yes, it'd be nice to get the A1s and A2s, but let's focus on maybe getting from the E8 to the D7 and then the D7 to the C6, incremental. And it actually worked because, with the affirmation, the celebration of small wins, when it came to the actual bigger exam, there was that enough momentum and confidence built up. So I think it's important to be able to break things down step by step, rather than looking at the big goal that seems so insurmountable. The other thing I wanted to share was that it's important for us as parents to also prepare them for life. It's not just to prepare them for the top school or the top program. Because even in my own experience and my friends' experience, once our kids put all that effort and we have all the focus to get them into those schools or those programs, then they don't know what to do once they're there.
Yeah, they've reached their goals, right?
Yes. So I'm talking about things like, knowing how to do the laundry, knowing how to budget, when you do your groceries. Those are the things that maybe, in our very comfortable lives, we either have someone do it for us or we don't nag them enough, so we do it for them. But when they're on their own, right, I think these are important life skills too, that we sometimes forget about. Yeah.
For us, the communication is very key. When they were young, we exposed them obviously to many things. But when we discover both our children, in what they enjoy doing, we just give it our all to provide our support and find the best resources for them. And give them the opportunity to develop their strengths or interests. I guess you just have to keep trying, and we've also learned from our experience that not to focus too much on the result from the onset, because certain skills require time to develop. So for the case of Isaac, when he started playing competitively, he was losing a lot of matches. But again, I mentioned earlier, we focus on the process rather than the result. So when Isaac was not doing well, Choo Soon and I will remind ourselves to be patient, and again, just enjoy the process, enjoy the journey, and then the outcome, it is what it is, and we can't anticipate what's going to come. Yeah.
And so you do share these thoughts with him as well, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's always the case where I share the same thoughts with MOS Gan, that we just so long as he put in his effort, regardless of whether it's studies or sports, that's most important to us, and not the outcome.
Yeah, I think we really need to recognize that even adults, sometimes we don't know our own strengths. We don't know what we're passionate about. I mean, it does take a while, right? Some people
we
just
never
take
discover
longer.
it till 50.
Yeah, that's right.
Correct, yeah.
So I think it's perfectly okay, if the child takes a long time and you can't discover the person's strength or passion at the moment. I think just so be it. I won't rush it.
Correct.
I think what's more important is the child is learning, enjoying learning, and growing healthily and happily. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we should not squeeze the passion out of the child just so that we can go and develop it.
Yeah.
I feel that won't work either.
Just now when David and I were speaking, we were saying that actually, how many of us actually are working in fields where we studied at university or college? Very
Actually,
few of
that's
us.
true.
Yeah.
So I think education should be seen as just like a journey, right? A pathway.
It's just another step.
Yeah, that may not necessarily be the final step. The world is changing, right? So maybe what we're learning today, we need to continue learning and move around, right? There's nothing wrong with that.
That's right.
So it's to have the big perspective in mind.
And actually maybe look 2 to 3 steps further than just education. Because if you look further, then all these things is all life skills. And it's back to, focusing on the process and all that. Because if you parent that way, it really is developing all the things a child truly needs to survive in the long run, right?
Choo Soon and I choose to support our kid in pursuit of their interests, regardless of whether it's academic or other interests. And so far, I think we've enjoyed the journey, and given a chance, I strongly believe we'll go down the same path again. Yeah.
Very nice. Boss?
I would like to say that to me, I think a successful person is not defined by what she has achieved, but what she gives to society. And I hope that my children will follow that philosophy. It's not about what they achieved in school, but rather when they start work, what do they give to the community and to society.
I would say focus on who your child is, and really prioritize the relationship, because that's the foundation for everything, and that would weather them and yourself through tough times to come.
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much to this panel. I learned a lot as a mom myself. Like I keep taking notes, right? So that's why I keep thinking, okay, I need to go and implement this as well. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. To the audience at home, thank you very much as well for joining us. And we hope you got some very useful tips from the parents that were on the panel tonight. Thank you very much and have a lovely evening.